Trigger warning. Benjamin politics being a reactionary as usual. Roll clip.
Yes, it does teach them responsibility and their ways around a weapon, and that's a good thing. And you didn't even respond to that rebuttal. People like this freaking out like this shows they don't actually care about the people. So this is a school in Wyoming, and these aren't even guns. These are air rifles.
Oh, I don't know, maybe it's the principle of the matter, because instead of doing things that will actively lower gun violence in schools, we are instead embracing the gun violence. Better use of our time would be, I don't know, maybe passing legislation that, makes it harder for people to get ammo?
School that banned books about the Holocaust was in Tennessee. That school was in Wyoming. It's two different schools. I don't know how that's such a hard concept to grasp. The problem that the school district had with the book was profanity and female nudity. Also depictions of violence and suicide.
Gee, Ben, I wonder why it would have those things. Maybe it's because it was a book about the Holocaust. And here's a picture from Mouse that Ben blurred out. All of these tragic and graphic elements that are conveniently not going to be shown to kids now. If you thought something like this should be banned from school curricula, and especially with those criteria, then we need to ban all of Greek history from being taught in schools. We want to complain about nudity on this scale. Meanwhile, Greek sculptures exist and are in children's textbooks. Also just in public. What? There is only one group of people out there that right before Holocaust Remembrance Day bans a book like Mouse. This group just so happens to be the same kind of people that would also turn around and defend this act, and yes, it rhymes with the board game Yahtzee. Ben's doing a real good job of showing his cards in this video. And who can forget about the fact that schools banning books has been a problem for a while now in academia. Let's see, people like Benjamin Politics don't care because they're out here to push what? A narrative, that's right.
I haven't heard of any schools banning teaching about slavery.
Aside from the fact that schools have been whitewashing, damaging, and neutering the teachings of slavery. Which Ben is going to conveniently leave out here because Ben likes to push the narrative that systemic racism doesn't exist. And if he were to acknowledge that schools are doing this, then he would have to concede the fact that systemic racism does indeed exist. And there goes half the content he's ever freaking made out the goddamn window.
Sounds like you're talking about critical race theory, which is not history. It's not teaching about slavery. When you say people who are against critical race theory are against history, you are lying and you don't know what you're talking.
Critical race theory, the thing that's been being used as a buzzword when talking about actual U.S. history. The thing that's been needlessly banned from being taught in schools, even though it wasn't taught in schools to begin with. It's not until one is well into their college education that critical race theory is even, brought up typically. Remember what I said earlier on in this video, where I said that Ben has to deny the existence of systemic racism because if he acknowledged it existed, then half of his arguments would go right out the window.
As communism. That's why the critical race theorists are communists. The entire point of it was to lead to communism.
Notice how there was no citation there.